right? In first developer plus plus session, I introduce C++ and operators in C++. The same thing we are repeating along with the flow control statements, right? So the first question here is, what is mean by language? So as we all are using some language to communicate with each other, we are using English, Hindi, or our mother tongue to communicate with each other, right? Similarly, if one has to communicate with computer, so it can be done by using programming language by writing the programs. So we have to write program, and with the help of that program we can communicate with the computer. So that is called as programming language. So as per my opinion, programming languages are artificial languages. It is invented by some inventors. Now coming to high level programming language. So what is mean by high level programming language? Can anyone tell me high level programming language? Alright. Yeah, means it can be used for complex program, no doubt, but why it is called as a high level programming language? No, that is not the reason. If we are using general English statement to write down the program, so that particular language is called as a high level programming language. Example C, C++, Java, Python. So in these programming languages, we are writing some general English statement. That's why these are the high level programming language. So right now this is laptop, and this laptop or computer understand only two things. Why? Because it consists of hardware device, and hardware understand only two things. One is 1 and second is 0. 1 and 0 are the bits, binary number, binary digits you can say. So only these two numbers are understood by the computer, right? So whatever program we are writing in high level language, it is not understood by the computer. So one has to translate that particular program to machine understandable form. So for that purpose we require translator. So, we can have compiler. The programming languages like C, C++, Java uses compiler to compile the code. So what is the task done by compiler? Compiler compiles the code. Means what? Compiler converts our program to computer understandable form. Compiler converts the code written in high level language to low level language. So let me. So here I am saying, hope is it? It is visible to all. Is it visible? Yeah. Compiler. Compiler is a program. Compiler is a program which accept program written in high level language and it converts program to low level language. Right? And whatever this low level language we have, that will be loaded to the memory. That will be loaded to the memory, and and we are giving some input and we are getting some output. It depends. It depends what input it is taking and what output we are displaying. So this high level code will be loaded to the memory and input will be given to that and we are getting the output, right? So what is here? This is a target file. Target file is produced by the compiler. Means we can compile once and we can execute it many times, right? So that is how compiler is working, and compiler compiles the code, complete code at a time. Now coming to interpreter. So instead of compiler, if you are going for interpreter, so what interpreter does? Interpreter translate the line at a time. Interpreter executes the program on the fly, you can say one line at a time will be executed by the interpreter, and wherever he is unable to execute the code due to some error, that time it will stop. But this is not happening in compiler. If error are occurring in compiler, so compiler will stop the compilation by giving the list of errors. So compiler is asking us to to correct the error so that I can convert it to the target form. So compiler or interpreter are not designed to find out the errors. Compiler and interpreters are there to compile our code, to translate our code to machine understandable form. So note, compiler and interpreter are not there to find out the error. Why compiler or interpreters are giving the error? If syntax is not understood by the compiler. Now what is meant by syntax? What do we mean by syntax? Syntax is nothing but compiler understandable form is called as a syntax. So whenever these inventors are inventing the programming language, if you are willing to design, if you are willing to design your own programming language, so you have to design the compiler. So whenever you are designing the compiler, you have to decide the syntax of your programming language. And whatever syntax you are deciding, the same syntax will be followed by the programmer. And if that syntax, if that particular form is not followed, so your compiler will give the error. Kindly write in my understandable form, so I can convert it to the machine understandable form, else not. Right? So that is nothing but translator and compiler and interpreter. The next point is what? Character set. Character set. So whenever we are learning any language like Marathi, so we have to learn some alphabet, or English, we have to learn some alphabet. So we all have learned the alphabets of English, right? To learn English program, to learn English language. Similarly, to learn any programming language, one should have idea of character set. So when we work with programming languages like C, C++, Java, and Python, so it have character set. So we have alphabet. So what are the alphabets we have? Lowercase a to lowercase z. There are total 26 alphabet. Similarly, we have uppercase a to z. That is another 26 alphabet. We have numbers. We have numbers from 0 to 9. We have some special characters called as escape sequence characters. So these are also the characters available in programming language like C, C++, Java, and Python, called as the escape sequence character. So generally, escape sequence characters consist of two characters. It's a valid character supported by these programming languages. Along with this, it has some special symbol like addition, underscore, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and so on. So what is this? This is the character set. So why this character set is required? As I said, computer understand only binary form, right? So we need to convert our program to the binary form. So it is very easy to convert any number to binary form. For example, I want to convert 7 to binary form. So I can divide 7 by 2, and by getting some remainder and quotient, I will get its binary form. So it is very easy to divide any number by 2, and I am dividing this particular number by 2. I am getting say 1 as a binary number for that particular set. But what if I am writing here, suppose I am writing one name Abhay, and I want to convert this Abhay to binary form. So how we can divide this name by 2? Quite difficult, right? So what we can do? We can use simple A first. So what is the, how we can divide A? Not possible. We can't divide this A by 2. Is it possible? Can we divide any alphabet by 2? No, not possible. So we required some code, we required some number so that it can be converted to binary form. So every alphabet has some associated ASCII code. So uppercase A is having its associated ASCII code as 65. So programming language like C, C++ support ASCII code ASCII. Programming language like Python and Java supports Unicode, universal code. Okay. So here uppercase A is having 65 as a ASCII value, uppercase B has a 66, and so on, up to 90. Okay. We have lowercase a having ASCII value as 97, lowercase b having value ASCII value as 98. So it is very easy to do the conversion from character to binary form by taking its associated ASCII value, right? So that's why ASCII code and Unicode comes to the existence. That is required for such type of conversion, right? So if you got the idea of character set. Okay. Now the next point is what? Escape sequence characters. So these escape sequence characters are used to give some attractive look to the output. It depends how you are using it. So we have various escape sequence characters available in programming languages like C, C++, Java, and Python, and valid one. Okay, even though it is having two characters, slash n is the escape sequence character to transfer cursor to the new line. Okay, slash r is a carriage return. Carriage return. It is helpful while reading the input. It is helpful while reading the input using cin operator. You know the typewriter have some type of a gear. We are typing something there, so automatically that control is going ahead while typing the thing. If you want to write the new line, type the new line. So there is one gear that you have to switch from right hand side to left hand side, right? So we are bringing it to the beginning. Suppose I am using C in. So now many of you have idea of writing the program. I am writing here C in A, C in B, and C in C, right? So this is the statement of C++ to read the input, and I am reading the input this way. I am saying here 1 space 2 space 3. Right now where we are, where cursor is blinking, where cursor is blinking, cursor is blinking at 3. Cursor is blinking near 3, right? Now this slash r will help, this carriage return will help to read the number, and it will send cursor implicitly below 1. So it will read first number, then it will read second number, and then it will read third number. That is how this slash r is helping cin statement to read the input. So these are some meaningful escape sequence characters available in programming languages, and that is generally used for the output purpose, right? So next point is what? Tokens. So whenever we are working with any programming language, that programming language supports tokens. Tokens are nothing but smallest programming unit. Smallest programming units. Right? So by using these units, one can complete the program, one can write down the program. So when you work with the tokens, so token can consist of characters, can consist of variables. I'm saying identifiers. What is identifiers? The name given by the user. And identifier can be variable, can be a name of class, can be a name of structure, can be a name of function, right? So that is nothing but identifiers. We have constants. We have constants, right? Literals, literals. Keywords. Keywords are nothing but predefined words, which meaning is known to the compiler, right? Operators. Operators are some symbols that can be used to perform some operations. And what is next? Strings. What is next? Strings. So let us discuss one by one. Let us discuss one by one. What is the first point? Variables. So hope the font is visible to all. Or may I increase the font? So let me try to increase the font. Visible now? Hope the font is visible to all. Yeah. Here we are discussing about variables. So what is meant by variables? Variables are nothing but memory location name used to store data value. Memory location name used to store data value. If I am asking you to perform some operation, if I am asking any one of you to perform addition of two numbers, and I am giving two numbers to you, so you are storing that two numbers in your brain, you are performing the addition, and you are telling the output that this is the addition of these two numbers. So without storing anything in a computer, we can't execute the program. Right now, this operating system is loaded in computer. That's why it is in running mode. This notepad is open. This notepad is loaded to the RAM. That's why it is open. If you are willing to watch any movie, if you are clicking on that particular movie icon, that particular file icon, so that will be loaded to the memory. Thereafter, it can run. The execution will start. It will start playing. Right? Similarly, when we work with programming language, if you want to store something to the memory, so we require variables, right? So what is variables? Memory location name used to store data value. So I am willing to store here 10. I am willing to store here 10. So I am storing it in variable A. I am storing it in a variable A. So what is A? A is a variable. What is A? A is a variable. Now here I am saying 10.5. So I am storing this 10.5 in another variable called as B. If we are putting anything in a single inverted comma is called as a character, that should be a valid one. Okay, so generally it should be a single alphabet or single character, right? So I'm saying here M and I'm assigning it to the C. So what is C? C is a variable and it is holding the character. I'm here saying allow. This allow is enclosed in a double inverted comma. So anything enclosed in a double inverted comma is called as a string. In programming language like C, C++, Java and Python, if you are enclosing anything in a double inverted comma is called as a string. So it's a string, right? So when we work with these variables, one has to declare the variables. Without declaring, we can't. So if for us, means for human being, we are declaring our name by having the birth certificate. So on our birth certificate, our name is declared. This is our name. So similarly, when we work with programming language or program, one has to declare the variable. Why we are declaring? Because we are instructing to the compiler. I am asking right now. I am asking any name. Suppose consider I am asking Pradyumna. Is there anyone whose name is Pradyumna here? Is any Pradyumna available in the class? So if we are using such name which is not declared, which is not available in that block, that is the error. That is the error. Suppose I am asking Suraj. So Suraj is here, right? So there is no error. Why? Because he is in the block, he is declared here, right? He is a student of suppose division A, so he is declared, right? Similarly, one has to declare the variable. Without declaration, we can't use. It is a type language, so we have to declare it. So I am writing their data type. So what is A? So A is a variable of type integer. So I am writing here integer. So this is called as a variable declaration. This is called as a variable declaration. And at the time of variable declaration, we are assigning the value to the variable is called as the initialization of the variable. Is called as initialization of the variable. Right? So here I am deciding the type of B as a double and here I am writing double. So what is integer? What is integer? What is double are the data types. Data types are used to decide the type of variable. Data types are used to decide the type of variable and to declare the variable. That is the purpose of data type. And there are various data types supported by C++ programming language. So they are built-in data type means what they are already available. Okay, already predefined. So what is first void? Void is an empty data type. Void is an empty data type. You can't declare variable by using void. But if you are willing to declare void pointer, you can. But you cannot declare normal variable with the help of void. Okay. Next, you can have character as a data type. So with the help of character, one can declare character type variable. So here I am declaring character type variable, character C. So this is how you can use character to declare the character variable. Okay. And next one is what? Double. Double and float, integer. What are these are the data types that can be used to declare the variable. So I am calling them as a built-in data type. Is also called as scalar. Is also called as scalar. So can anyone tell me why it is called as a scalar data type? Because it can hold only one value at a time. It can hold only one value. We can't store multiple value in a variable. So you can check I am storing only one value in variable A. So that's why scalar. If I am saying here A 10, comma 20, comma 30, comma 40, this may be valid in Python. This highlighted statement may be valid in Python, but not in programming language like so. Yeah, it may be valid, but it will hold only one value. This A will hold one value, not multiple value. Why? Because it's a scalar data type. Okay, it may be called as it also called as primitive data type, or one can call it as a primary data type. Okay, so these are the different names given to this. So when we decide this variable, okay, of the character, it required 1 byte of memory. For integer, it takes 4 bytes of memory. For float, it takes 4 bytes of memory, and for double, it takes 8 bytes of memory. 8 bytes of memory. right? So when we work with a floating point number and double number, that floating point number and double number can also be represented with mantissa and exponent. For example, I have one number, I am writing one number, number is 0.0045. This is the number, right? So this number can be represented in the form of mantissa and exponent. So if I am dividing this 4.5, so when I will multiply this number. I will multiply this number by 10 raised to the power minus 2 or 3. Minus 3. Okay. So I'm getting this particular number. Right. So how it can be represented in the form of mantissa. So this is mantissa. This 4 is a mantissa. And exponent. So I'm using here, instead of saying 10, I'm using here exponent e. It can be a lowercase e. It can be a uppercase e. So this is one type of representation of a floating point number. Followed by positive or negative sign of exponent. So here it's a negative exponent and 0, 3. So this is how this number can be represented in Mantis sign exponent form. Okay, so in programming language like C, there are format specifier to deal with such numbers. One can use percent %e for floating point number. One can use percent %f for floating point number. One can use percent %d or percent %i for integer number. But coming to C++, format specifiers are not required because we are using C in or C out statement. Type is important. Once type is declared, no need to use any format specifier. Benefit over C++. Now derived data type. So what is meant by derived? So we are using the existing data type. We are using the existing data type to declare the new one. So here I am saying integer. Here I am saying integer a. So what is this integer a? So this highlighted integer a is a normal variable. Is a normal variable. I want to make it as an array. So how I can? By introducing this particular operator, square operator. So it is called as an array subscript operator. It is called as an array subscript operator. With this, if you are skipping the highlighted portion, if you are skipping this highlighted portion, so it's a normal variable. It's a normal variable, but by looking at the highlighted portion, it's an array. So what is this? This is derived. We derived it. We derived it from the existing one. Pointers. So when we work with the pointer, so what is meant by pointer? Actually, pointer is a variable with the help of that we can point to any other variable. So we'll discuss pointer in our future sessions. But here I am declaring p. P is a pointer variable. But when we are introducing the star. But right now this highlighted portion is a normal variable, ordinary variable. When it will become a pointer variable, when we put here star. When we put star before this, so it becomes a pointer variable. There is a reference variable supported by C++. So you can use reference variable this way, ampersand a. So what is this ampersand? It's a reference variable. Reference variable. So when we have a reference variable, it should be initialized. So here I can say equals to b. So what is meaning of this particular statement? The meaning of this particular statement is the memory location B is identified by two names. One name is A and second name is B. Means a person having two name. A person having two name. So if you are asking that particular person by any name, he is responding. Similarly, this particular variable is having two names. The name is identified. The variable is identified with A and B. Functions. So functions are used to perform some subtasks. So function is also a derived data type. Now, user defined data type means where user can create his own data type called as user defined. So I'm willing to create one data type. Okay. So we can create this user defined data type by using class enum union struct and type definition. So by using this, one can create user defined data types. Okay. So for example, I'm willing to prepare user defined data type. So let me open online compiler. I am here. Hope that the thing here is visible to all. Is it visible to all? Hope it is visible to all. Yes. At last. Okay. What is your name? Last corner. Spect. वैभव के पीछे. Jainil. Is it correct? Jainil. JE, right? You'll go with Amit. Okay. Amit, I'm saying here A. So listen and concentrate. Here I'm saying integer. Here I'm saying integer A. So what is integer A here? What is integer A here? It's a variable of type integer. But I want to declare variable of type Amit. I want to declare variable of type Amit, and there is no variable, there is no data type Amit available in C++. Right? So we can create our own data type. So what I am doing, I am using here type definition. Type definition means I am defining the new type. I am defining the new type. Type definition by using the base type. By using the base type, I am saying here integer. And now here I am saying, yeah, this way we can, and thereafter we can declare the variable Amit A. And now here I am saying A equals to some value, A equals to suppose 10, and then I am writing here C out A, C out A, and let us display the value of A. It is displaying 10. Here we are getting the output and it is displaying 10. Means what? User can create his own data type, right? So that is user defined data type. Now, next. Before going for input output, I said that there are two types. There are two types, is a literal and constant. So can anyone tell me difference between literals and constants? Can anyone tell me difference between literals and constants? Listen and let me know. I am writing here float. I am writing here float pi equals to 3.147. So is it a variable or constant? Is it a variable or constant? Huh? If it is a constant, value should not change. Right? I am assigning value to pi and I am saying here 45. And I am displaying the value of pi. I am updating the value of pi and I am displaying it to the user. And I am running it and it will get updated. It will be updated and it will display 45. Why? Because it's not a constant. Pi value is constant in mathematics, right? Correct. But here in programming, we have to instruct the compiler. Kindly make it as a constant. Right now, we ask it as a variable. And what is mean by variable? Its value varies whenever program is under execution. So initial value of pi was 3.147. We updated it to 45 and we are displaying it. So it is displaying 45. Now I want to make it constant. How I can? So one has to use const qualifier. I am using here const qualifier. So what is const qualifier? With the help of that we can create constant in C, C++. And now if we are trying to update, the value of constant, it will give the error, compile time error. Here it is saying that variable pi declared as a constant. Now it's a constant. Its value cannot be updated. Its value cannot be updated. Right? So this is how one can work with a constant. Now what is literal? What is literal is nothing but a direct value. Direct value. This highlighted value is a literal. It's a double literal. What is the type of this 3.147? Is a double literal. And we are assigning it to pi. Afterward it is becoming that pi is a floating point variable, but the highlighted value is 3.147 is a double. If you want to check, you can. So how one can check type of? Okay. So how much memory space is required for double? Can you tell me? 8. Alright. And how much memory space is required for float? 4. Okay. I am writing here C out. There is an operator called as size of. With the help of that, we can check the size of data type or variable. So I am writing here 3.14. So if it's a float, it will display 4 as the output. And if it's a double, it will display 8 as the output. So let's check what output it is displaying. So there is an error because I have missed this semicolon, right? So it is displaying 8. It is displaying 8 means what? By default, any number having a decimal point is treated as a double. Is treated as a double. So generally, whenever you are referring some books or any online resources, they are declaring pi this way: pi equals to 3.147. What does it mean? It's a double. And whenever I am writing here f, whenever I am writing here f, it becomes float. It's called as a typecasting. It's called as a typecasting. It is converted to float now. So if you are willing to check the same statement I am writing again, here I am writing C out 3 point. Okay, let me write down here size of operator, size of, and let us check now. It will display 4. The output is 4. So this is typecasting. What is meant by typecasting? Changing from one data type to another data type. Here we converted double to float. Okay. Another way of doing this conversion is, instead of using f, we can use float as a typecasting operator. Okay. Now here I am saying C out 1 by 2. What will be the output? Can anyone tell me? It's an important point. Why? Because many of the time you may get a question in exam. Find the output of following program. So in this case, what is the output? 0. Confirm. 0. Output will be 0. Why? Because if you are dividing any integer by integer, the result will be integer. So in this case, result is 0.5. But in integer number, decimal point and the things after decimal point will be truncated, will be deleted, will be discarded. So according to this, output of this will be 0. So semicolon is required. So let me introduce semicolon here. So why this error is displayed? Actually, compiler is not to find the error. Compiler is asking me to correct it so that he can translate it to the machine form. Okay. So now it is displaying result as 0. I want to convert. I want to convert this one to floating point. So how we can? How we can? So we can do this way. I am writing here float. I am writing here float and I am converting it to the float. So now check, here output is zero point 0.5. So any one operand is of float type. So it is called as a type promotion. So it is promoting the type that integer is again converted to the float. If there is a double float and double combination, so the final result will be promoted to double. So there is a this is called as a type promotion. Okay. Next concept, input and output. So how one can read input and how one can display output in programming language like C++. So one has to use cin and cout object, cin and cout object of input and output stream class. Along with the functions, along with two functions, there are two functions available respectively. One is the insertion operator. So this is called as the insertion operator. Okay, that insertion operator is also called as a put to or output operator for displaying the output. So this should be used with the out cout. Okay, and this is the extraction operator. Okay, get from or input operator. So this way it can be used. So we can go for cascading. Cascading means what? We can have multiple things at a time. So I am displaying values of 3 variables. This is how we can, right? So if I want to read input from user and want to display input to output to user, so how we can write down the program? So listen and concentrate. Here I am declaring one variable integer a and I want to read it from user and display it to the user. So which function is there to read it from user? Cin. So here I am saying cin a, and how we can display to the user? With the help of cout. With the help of cout. So here I am writing cout and here I am saying a. Right? So let me run this particular program. I am reading the input, I am displaying the output. So here cursor is blinking. Suppose you are opening an application, you are running any program, or you are visiting suppose ATM machine and you are trying to perform some transaction, but machine is not giving any input. Sorry, machine is not displaying any output, but cursor is blinking there for the input, but there is no meaningful message. So as per my opinion, yeah, being a programmer, we know as this program is written by us, so we know that we have to enter one number. But if this program is executed by third person, then we have to write meaningful message. So right now I'm entering number as a 6 and I'm pressing enter button. So it is displaying 6. So input is 6, output is 6. But there should be some meaningful message. So before reading the number, I want to display one message. So enter one number. So how we can display it? Can anyone tell me? See out. So one has to use see out statement where before reading the input. So this is the statement which I am reading from the user. So what I will do here, I will write here see out, and I will ask user to enter number. We can use here enter marker to change the line and L. Okay, and after reading the input, we can display the output. So I can display output this way. Number is the enter number is, and I am displaying the number. Right. So let us run this particular program. I am running this particular program. Now check. It is asking for the input. Yeah, enter number. I am entering number. Suppose I am entering number. Suppose 56, 78, 89, 80, 67. Now, which number will be read by C? So can you observe one thing? I am reading only one number. I am reading only one number. And how many numbers are given as the input? We are given here about 7 to 8 number as the input. So out of this, which number will be read by the C statement? 56. So here a slash r comes to the existence. That slash r is transferring control to the first number, and the first number will be read. The first number will be read and will be stored in variable A. What about other numbers? What about other numbers? Will be discarded. Will be discarded. Right? Means whenever we are giving the input, we can separate the input by giving the space, or we can separate the input by pressing enter button. So, but this being statement waits for the enter button to read the input. Right now, I have separated the input with space, but I have not pressed the enter button. Right? So, I am pressing the enter button so that it will start reading the input. So, I am pressing the enter button and it is reading the number, and this same number is 56. The rest, all numbers are discarded. Right? This is how you can read the input and you can display the output. Okay. Now, next point. So this is about input and output. Now operators. So what is mean by operators? So hope you have idea of operators. So as per my opinion, operators are symbols. Operators are symbols used to perform mathematical and logical operations. So there are various categories of operator. Unary operator. So unary operator have only one operand. Unary operator have only one operand. For example, here I am saying plus 5. So it's a positive number. I am saying here minus 5. It's a negative number. I am writing here a plus plus. It's a unary operator. Means what? It have only one operand. Only one operand. Either to left hand side or right hand side. Depending on the syntax. Depending on the syntax is called as unary operator. Binary. So when you have two operands, for example, here I am saying a plus b. So in this case, it's a binary operator. Binary. It have two operands, one to the left hand side, one to the right hand side. Is called as binary operator. Okay. And ternary operator having three operands, and there is only one operator supported by C, C++, and Java is called as a conditional operator. It is not supported by Python. So this operator will have three operands. So here I am checking the condition. A is greater than B. I am writing here A and I am writing here B. So what does it mean? This operator have three operand. So I am saying this is operand number. This is operand number one. This is operand number two. This is operand number three. Is called as ternary. It have three operands. Three operands. That's why ternary. Right. So coming to arithmetic operator. So these arithmetic operators are used to perform operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo division. Right? So here I have one example to perform the arithmetic operation. Right? Here I am saying a equals to 2 and b equals to 10. So we have variable declaration and we are performing arithmetic operations. So here I am saying C out and I am displaying the value of a plus b. So what will be the result? What will be the result? 12. The result will be 12. Now I am coming to this particular statement. C out b minus a. So value of b is 10, value of a is 2. What will be the result? 8. Now here I am saying a divided by b, 0. Okay, why? Because it gives the quotient, and in this case as we have integer data type, so result will be 0. Result will be 0. If you want floating point result, one has to convert it to the float data type. So how you can convert it into the float data type? This way. I am writing here float this way. Float. So as I am writing here float, it becomes a float and type will be promoted, and now in this case result will not be 0. In this case result will be 0.2. Yeah, right, correct. So this is a remainder operator. This percent symbol is used to find out the remainder. Means it performs the division. It performs the division, and after performing division, whatever remainder we are getting, that will be given by this operator. So whenever we are dividing 12 by 10, what will be the remainder? Huh? What will be the remainder? 2. Okay. So let us try here. Here I am doing one change, and here I am writing C out. C out. I am writing here 10 modulus. Suppose not 10, I am saying here 7. 7 modulus 2. What will be the output? What will be the remainder? 1. So when we work with remainder operator, it gives the remainder, right? Now, I am trying to change the data type and I am writing here 7.0. What will be the output? What will be the output? Error. Why? Because remainder operator, this modulus operator works only with integer or character type data. Integer or character type data. That's why there is an error. So as we are using floating point data or double data, it is giving the error. Invalid operand. Invalid operand. We cannot work with we cannot work with double data type, but it may be valid in Java, not in C and C++. Right? Now here I am saying A. What is A? A is a character. A is a character. I am dividing A by uppercase A. Can anyone tell me what will be the remainder? Value of A, lowercase a is 97 and value of uppercase a is a 65. So what will be the remainder? 32. There is a difference of 32. Right, so it will display 32 as a result. That's why whenever you are converting lowercase to uppercase, you have to subtract 32, and from uppercase to lowercase you have to add 32 in that particular character, right? So you get uppercase and lowercase conversion provided you are working with alphabets only, else you have to write appropriate condition. Similarly, we have next operator called as a assignment. Okay, so these are the valid assignment statement. So here value of b will be assigned to a, value of 5 will be assigned to a, and the value of a will be assigned to b. So in this case, this expression will be evaluated first 1, comma 2, comma 3 according to the precedence of operator. Comma is having lowest precedence than assignment. Okay, So one will be assigned to A, right? And in this case, this is invalid statement. This is invalid. In C, C++, and Java, to left hand side of the assignment operator, we can have only one operand, only one variable. We can't have any other thing to the right hand side of operator, right? So continue. Yeah. So we'll continue with our next operator. Is a relational operators. So when we write down when we write the program, we have to check some conditions, right? So for that purpose, one can use the relational operators. All these are binary operator. We have greater than, less than, greater than equals to, less than equals to, and not equals to. Okay. So these are the binary operators supported by C++, right? So here I have an example integer a equals to 10 and b equals to 20, and I am trying to check the condition. So an important point to note is what in programming language like C, C++, any positive number or any negative number is considered as a true and 0 is considered as a false, right? So here I am checking the condition. The result will be of this particular highlighted statement will be either 0 or 1. 0 means false, and 0 means false, and 1 means true. So if the condition is true, result will be 1. If condition is false, result will be 0. So what is your opinion? What will be the result? Huh? 1. Listen, so when we have a variable, we are not writing any variable in single inverted comma. If we put anything in a single inverted comma, it is called as a character. There should be a valid character. It's a valid character. So as I said, characters are implicitly treated as integer, right? So its ASCII value is 97, and I am checking 97 with B. The value of B is 20. So the condition is false. So output of this will be 0. Okay. So this condition now, what will be the output? A is less than or equals to B. A value is 10, B value is 20. So what will be the output? 1. Okay. Now I'm adding some value to A and I'm checking for the equality. So according to the precedence of operator, addition will have a highest precedence. So addition will take place first, and then it will check for the equality. So don't say it is a double equal to. It's an equal to operator only. It is used to compare for equality. Where I am checking the equality. So what will be the result? 1, and A is not equals to B. 1. Okay. So let us execute this for statement. So let me copy this and I'm putting it to. I'm running the program. Check 0 1 1 will be the output. Check here 0 1 1 is the output. Whatever we predicted, the same is displayed. Right? Now next. After this, we have logical operators. So for what purpose these logical operators are used? To perform, to check multiple conditions, at a time. For that purpose it is used. For example, if I am willing to check largest of three number, so if you are writing this way, a is greater than b is b is greater than c, so this may be a right. As per the syntax, the statement is right. Okay, as per the syntax, statement is right and it will work, but it will not give us the largest of three number. It will not give us the largest of three number. If condition is true, we can say A is largest. but this is logically incorrect, right? So if we are willing to do this way, how we can do? First of all, we have to compare A with B, and we have to compare A with C. So this is logically correct statement. So earlier was also correct. Why? Because it is considering 0 and 1 as a true and false. So it is applying that particular logic to evaluate this particular expression. Correct. Now, here I have one example. I want to check a number entered by user is a single digit number or not. Right? So here I assign value to a as a 9. So we have to check is it a single digit number or not. So how we can write down the logic? Can anyone tell me? I am willing to write down the logic. And now here I am updating except 0. Except 0. I am unwilling to consider 0. So 0 will not be considered. So what I am doing, I am checking for a is greater than minus 9. A is greater than minus 9. Or if you are willing to consider 0, okay, you can consider 0. So I am considering 0 also. Alright. So we are checking for negative number, and here I am saying and a is less than or equals to 9. So if this condition is true, if both the conditions are true, the number entered by user is a single digit number. If this particular condition is true, okay, the number is a single digit number. So it can be a positive number or it can be a negative number. So in this case it's a negative number, and in this case it's a positive number. So this both conditions should be true, then and only then it will be a single digit number. Okay. So to check number is larger than number 2 or number 3. So how we can write down the logic here? Number 1, I am writing this way. Number 1 is greater than number 2, and number 1 is greater than number 2. So this is how we can utilize this logical AND operator. So when we work with here, I am checking this particular condition, right? If it is true, first of all, this will be evaluated as per the precedence, and then it will be evaluated. So by looking at the number, this is false because number 1 is 10, number 2 is 20, and number 3 is 30. This is false, the result will be 0. And here I am checking this particular condition, number 1 is greater than number 2, again it is false, so this is also 0. So now it will evaluate 0 and 0, the final result is 0. So output of this will be 0. If I am writing this way, listen properly, I am writing here C out, here I am writing 10 and 20. So this and should be there, logical and 20. So this is a true condition. As I said, that positive number or negative number is considered as a true and 0 is considered as a false. So in this case, it is considering that 10 and 20 as a positive number. So we are saying 1 and 1, the result is 1. Okay. Now in this case we are getting 0 as a result. So yeah, in this case we are getting depending on the digit. So condition is true. In this case condition is true, and we are getting the result as true, that is 1. I want to invert it so I can use logical not operator. So here I am using logical not operator. Try to understand, it is giving 1 as a result, and I am introducing exclamation mark, so it will invert the result. Unary operator, the result will be inverted to 0. Clear? Okay. Now increment and decrement operator. So what increment does? Increment the value by 1, and decrement decrements the value by 1. So when you work with these operators, they have pre-increment and post-decrement. Sorry, pre-increment and post-increment. So I am writing here pre-increment. Pre. So how it can be written? How it can be written this way? Pre. I am saying here increment. So it can be written this way plus a. So this is pre-increment operator. So we are writing operator to left hand side of the operand. Okay. And what is post? Post increment is this way. I am writing here a plus. So this is the post increment. As I said, there is a associativity of the operator. Means every operator has some associativity. So according to the precedence of according to the associativity, this operator have associativity from right to left. From right to left. Okay. Here I have one example that I am assigning a value to A as a 5 and B to 0. I am displaying the value of A and B, so definitely it is going to display the existing value, that is 5 and 0. I am coming to this statement. So can anyone tell me what will be the value of B and what is the value of A? Huh? B equals to 5, A equals to 6. Right? So listen, as per the precedence of operator, this increment operator is having the highest precedence. Right? But as I said, this particular is a post increment, and as per the associativity from right to left, so control will come from right to left. Control will come from right to left, and it will assign the existing value of A to B. The existing value of A is 5, so value of B will be 5. Okay, and as this is the increment, so value of A will get incremented. This is the increment, value of A will get incremented by 1. So value of A will be 6 and value of B is 5. So here it will display A equals to 6 and B equals to 5. So let me write down here A equals to 6 and B equals to 5. This will be the output. Now here I am saying pre-increment. So what is value of A in memory right now? 6. 6. So as per the precedence associativity of operator right to left, so it will increment the value first. It will increment the value first and that will be assigned to B. It will increment the value first and that will be assigned to B. What is the existing value of A in memory? 6. So it will be incremented to 7. Right? So value of A is 7 and value of B is 7. So this statement is giving A equals to 7, A equals to 7 and B equals to 7. Right, so let me have this 3 4 statement to check is it displaying the same output or not. So here I have not written end L statement, so you can use end L to get the output on new line. I'm avoiding that end L to display it on new line. So what will be the output? 6 5 7 7 will be the output. Let us run. Sorry, 5 6, A value is 5. Okay, initially value of A is that 5 and 0, and then it is displaying A equals to 6, 5 and 7, 7. So this particular statement you can observe A equals to 6, A equals to B equals to 5, A equals to 7 and B equals to 7. The output is written here. A equals to 6, B equals to 5, A equals to 7 and B equals to 7. Same values are displayed there. Now, coming to this particular statement, A equals to B plus equals to C plus plus minus D plus. What will be the output by considering these values of A, B, C, D, E and F? So according to the precedence of operator, negative is a unary operator. It will be evaluated first. It will be evaluated first. Okay, then this minus minus E will be evaluated, that is pre-decrement. Then this C plus plus will get incremented, means this C plus plus will get executed, but it's a post increment, it's a pre-increment. So as it's a pre-increment, value of E will be 4, temporary value of F will be minus 2. Okay, and this C plus plus is the post increment, so value of C will be 12 as it is. So what I am doing, as per this particular statement, I am writing the statement again. A equals to B. Here I am writing plus equals to. One important point. Here I am giving the space. Here I am utilizing the space. Here there is a space. Here is a space. Before before this assignment and after this assignment I have used the space, but in this particular operator I am not using the space. Why? Because this is the operator compound assignment, we can't have space in between. If I am giving the space there is error, so I am not using any space here. Right now here I am saying C++, the value of C is 12, C will get incremented. Right, so value of D, what is the value of D in memory? 2. Okay, plus what is the value of E? Minus that is 4, so I am writing here 4 divided by what? Minus 2. So now this division will take place. This division will take place as per the precedence of operator, and we are getting minus 2 as a result. So I am getting minus 2 as a result. Right? Something is wrong. Okay, that B plus is remaining. Okay. So now here I am subtracting. This subtraction will take place. What will be the value here? 10. 10 minus 2, 8. So what is the result here? 8. Right, and whatever statement here we have written B plus equals to, so its meaning is B equals to B plus. So what is meaning of this? B equals to B plus. Now it will take place. So what is the value of B in memory? 2. 2 plus 8. 2 plus 8, 10. So 10 will be assigned to B and the value of A will be 10. So final value of A and B in memory is 10. And as that post increment, that C plus plus, this is a post increment. Now value of C will be incremented by 1. The updated value of C will be 30. This is how we can work with these operators. Right, next. Yeah, conditional operator. Conditional operator. So directly here I have an example of a conditional operator. So I am not going for the syntax, I am checking the condition. If this condition is true, by looking at the variable declaration a is 2, b is 3. So what is your opinion? Condition is true or false? False. Okay, as the condition is false, value of b will be assigned to m. Value of b will be assigned to m. Okay, suppose I am changing the value of a to 20. So what will be the result? Hmm? Yeah, so condition is true, so value of a will be assigned to m. So in this case value of a is 20. So this is logic to find largest of two number. This is a conditional operator. If question is asked for the conditional operator, you have to use this operator only. Don't go for if else. Okay. Next, bitwise operators. So bitwise operator works with the bits, binary digits. So uh, whenever we have this bitwise AND operator, bitwise OR operator, and bitwise exclusive OR operator, okay, they works with the bits. They are converting numbers to the binary numbers. Okay, so we can use only two data types with while working with this bitwise operator. One is character, and second one is integer. You can't work with floating point. Okay, so here if both bits are one, so result by and or is one, and the result by XOR is 0. Okay. If either bit is 1, so result by AND is 0, the OR is 1, and XOR is 1. So this is one table for AND, OR, and exclusive OR. Here I am writing this particular statement a equals to 10 and b equals to 7. So binary value of 10 is 1010 and binary value of 7 is 111. So if you are performing AND operation, what will be the result? Here I am performing the AND operation. So A and B will be converted to the binary number. So 1010 and then 0111 is the result. We are performing AND operation. So when both bits are 1, the result given by AND is 1. So according to this is 1 and rest of the 0. If you are converting this binary number to decimal, so decimal is 2. So result of this particular operation a and b is a 2 in this case. Okay, we can change the operator. And accordingly we'll get the result. You can work with XOR. You can work with bitwise OR. Okay. Now listen. This is important concept I am trying to explain here. Is a left shift operator. So what is purpose of left shift operator? It is used to shift bit to the left hand side. Okay, so here I am saying value of a is 10. So value of a is 10, right? Here I am saying 0001010 is the binary value of 0. I am considering it as a 8-bit number. So this is the value of 0 in binary form, 1010. If you have calculator, you can use base mode of it, means you can use base mode, and accordingly you can do this particular conversion, decimal to binary and binary to decimal. Okay. So here this is binary value of 10. Now how many bit I am shifting to left hand side? I am shifting one bit to the left hand side. I am shifting one bit to the left hand side. So these many are the bits, and we are shifting one bit. So we are shifting this particular bit to the left hand side. How many bit? One bit. So this particular bit will be shifted to the left hand side, and once it is shifted to the left, it is lost. Okay. So there is one more place. Now this is the new place here. This particular location is showing the new place, which is the vacant place, to at which we can add the new bit, and it will be again 0. So I am adding here 0. So as I am adding here 0, we are getting 20. We are getting 20. So how this left shift bit operator works? So whatever number we are multiplying that particular number by 2. By 2. So let me write this way: power 2 comma power 2 comma, and I am shifting only one bit. I am shifting only one bit. Suppose I am shifting 2 bit. So number will be multiplied by 2 raised to the power 2. I am shifting 3 bit. The number will be multiplied by 2 raised to the power 3. So I am shifting 3 bits. So value of A is 10. So what will be the result? Can anyone tell me? I am shifting 3 bits to the left hand side. Value of A is 10. 10 into 8. How much? 80. Okay. So 80 is the result. So let us check here. Let me execute this particular statement by considering a equals to 10. So here I have not initialized a to 10. So let me initialize it to 10. Integer a equals to 10, and then this. Right. So I am shifting how many bits to left hand side? I am shifting one bit. So what will be the result? 2. Sorry, 20. 20. I am shifting 3 bits to the left hand side. What will be the result? 80. Okay. Now I am considering 18, and now I am using this particular operator. It is the right shift. So it is shifting bit to the right hand side. Means what, we are dividing that particular number by 2 raised to the power that many bits. Okay. So 80, we are shifting 3 bits to the right hand side. The result is same as we are dividing it. So once again I am writing this particular left shift operator. Now observe these two operators and let me know the difference between these two operators. The first one is this used with cout, and second one is in this parenthesis. What is difference between these two operators? What is the difference between these two operators? Huh? Output. If you want to check, you can search on the Google. You can search on the Google IO stream class of C++. You will get idea of these two operators. So these are the functions, okay, and how you can write down the operator function in C++ by using operator keyword. Operator, and here I am saying plus. So I am changing the behavior of plus operator. What is the purpose of plus operator? Plus operator is used to perform addition. So I can write down the logic here to change its behavior to do subtraction, right? So this is how one can use operator function concept in C++. So it is already overloaded. So I am not willing to overload it again. Okay. So along with this, we have some other operators called as a reference or address of operator, pointers. We have a function called typecasting operator, size of operator, array subscript. New and deletes are used to allocate memory space at dynamically, and delete is used to release the memory. Scope resolution operator. So this is the scope resolution operator. Okay, dot operator, and this is arrow operator. So this dot and arrow can be used while working with structure. Okay, this dot can be used while working with class. Okay, here I'm writing I am writing one block. I am writing one block. So block name is, or I am, let me write down your statement main, starting of the main function. Here I am saying C out, and I am displaying some 10. So what will be the result? Or I am saying here hi. Here I am saying hi. So I am running it. So error. So let me correct the error. Once again I am running it. Still there is error. Still there is error. Why there is error? Because he's saying that there is a standard. There is a standard. Just now I said O stream for output stream. Here it is saying the name of the class. That O stream output stream class. So this Cout is belonging to this O stream class. C is belonging to I stream class, and the super class of that two is the IO stream class. Right? So uh, why that standard is there, that std is a namespace. So how namespace work, let me use here using namespace std. It's a predefined namespace. So this error will be resolved. This error will be, let me have this integer main return 100. Can I return 100? Yeah, it is displaying high. And whatever value we have return, it is saying that exit status is 100. So why we are returning 0? We are saying that the program is successfully executed. Okay, so we are saying 0. So 0 shows the success, and in this case, that return status is not displayed because it's a successful execution. Okay, now instead of writing this namespace this way, I am writing here std and I am using a scope resolution operator and I am saying run. It is displaying high. So you have to write explicitly standard here. Now why this namespace is required? So that namespace represents some region. Okay, so I'm writing here namespace can be any. So I'm writing here division A. Okay, and here I'm writing variable. Here I'm writing one variable of type string n equals to raw. Okay, and now here I'm saying namespace division B. Okay, I have same variable. I'm saying here string n equals to, here I am saying suppose Amit, right? Now here I am willing to display n. I am willing to display n. What will be the output? What will be the output? So now he is in confusion that n belongs to division A or that n belongs to division B, right? Because we have two regions. The first region name is division A, and second region name is division B, right? So this is identifier with same name. This identifier is with same name, but they belong to the different block. So we have to specify that n belongs to which block. That n belongs to which block. Okay. Accordingly, it will display the result. I am writing here division B. What will be the result? What will be the output? So it will display Amit. It will display Amit. Why? Because I am trying to access. Yeah. So let me uncomment it. Let me uncomment it using std, and let me avoid it. Yeah. Let us check. So it is displaying Amit. It is displaying Amit. right? So this is how you can use namespace. So this standard namespace having some identifier already declared in that particular namespace, like scene, cout, string. In case of string, it gives the error. So that's why we are using that particular namespace. So it's a region where some identifiers are already defined. So with the help of that, we can justify. We means we can avoid the confusion. So that particular identifier belongs to the which block. Okay. So I'm asking you these three or four program that you can try at your own. Write a program to find area of circle. Okay. Second, write a program to exchange or swap the values of two variable. And the third, to rotate the value of three variables. So value of A will be given to B, value of B will be given to A, and the value of C, the old value of C will be given to A. That how you can do the rotation. Okay. So the next concept is what flow control statement, okay, control statement and control structure. So C programming language have these many statements. Okay, sequentials are also called as conditional, also called as decision making. Okay, so there we have if else, nested if else, else if ladder, switch case, and nested switch case. Okay, thereafter we have iterative and looping statements. Okay, so we have entry control loop as for loop, while loop, and exit control as do while. And the last one is what jump control statement, break, continue, go to, and return. Right. So right now it's a 7. So what I will do, we have one more session tomorrow to cover this particular topic. So tomorrow.